Welcome everyone to DRJ's webinar series. I'm Bob Arnold, President here at DRJ. Thank you for attendance today, and we hope you can gather some great information from today's webinar. Everyone's phone has been muted, and we ask you to utilize the question panel you'll find on the right-hand side of your screen. Our speaker today will attempt to answer as many of these as possible at the end of the webinar. Today's sponsor is Strategic BCP. Today's topic is BC software survey results. Extensive feedback provides deep insight into what peers value. Our speaker today is Frank Perlmutter. Frank is the president and co-founder of Strategic BCP, creators of Resilience One business continuity management software. He has 18 plus years of experience in business continuity and risk management and is a former consultant with the Big Four, as well as a manager of DR and COOP and risk manager for the U.S. Department of the Treasury. He has also directed business continuity programs and strategic projects for 75 plus clients at the C-level, as well as 20 plus for the federal government. With no further introduction, I'd like to turn the mic over to Frank.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you, all of you, for attending today. Just want to give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to review today. First off, what I want to say is that there is not going to be any discussion at all of any particular software products, including our own Resilience One. We are not going to be discussing that. What we are going to be discussing is the business continuity software survey results from a study that we did across the industry about what people want to see in their software. So there's quite a bit of items that we're going to look at on there. We're going to look at specific features that were asked about, specific around the structure of the software, also the functionality, different pieces of functionality that people want to see or maybe do not want to see, preferences and dislikes among current software users, and also we wanted to find out exactly, everybody wants something that's easy to use. Well, what exactly does that mean? So we're going to go into some open-ended responses on that too to see really what that means across your peers. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to give you a little bit of an overview of how the survey, the study was conducted, and as far as who responded to it, and those sorts of things too. So here's what we did. We asked 22 questions about business continuity software. And by business continuity software, I mean business continuity planning software. So software that would do BIA, planning around, say, crisis management, emergency management, IT, business continuity, those different types of activities. So some people call it contingency planning software, BCM software, BCP software. That's what we're talking about today. We looked at the relative importance, like I said, of the infrastructure features and also of functionalities. We also looked for other user preferences and interpretations. So we looked at things around like software, some of the other things like software as a service. We also looked around customer support, what good customer support meant, and those different types of things. And then also, too, what were some areas of strength according to the respondents of their current software packages, and also some areas that needed improvement. So the way this was conducted was we sent out an online survey through SurveyMonkey, and we got back the responses on those. And what we did was we also followed up with some of the respondents for phone calls to get more information on some of the answers. So we also have some information on the respondents because they were all entered in to get a drawing for a prize, and they had to obviously provide contact information to do that. So out of all the respondents, 84% of them provided that. Okay, so what did the respondents look like? There were a total of 192 that completed the survey. What you can also see, too, is that we had a lot of seasoned professionals respond to the survey, an average of it's approximately 11 years of business continuity professional experience. As far as the folks that use software, it was about 44%, 84 of the 192 total respondents said they use software. And in full disclosure, 19 out of those 84 respondents were utilizing our software package. You can see in there too, 68% of the respondents said their operations operate globally, so very important with things like foreign language capability, and also with distributing plans across geographically diverse locations on there. So there's a lot of really good insight into that. So you can see predominantly most of the people were involved and worked at organizations that operated like that. And there were quite a few different markets. So there was a really nice distribution of people across a lot of different verticals. So you can see banking, financial, insurance, manufacturing, government, healthcare, consulting. Also, too, you had some people with retail, oil and gas. Pretty much every single industry that you could want in there participated. As far as the ones that predominantly participated, ones a little higher than the others were banking and financial. Okay, so the goals of this survey were to really look and quantify all of the perceptions in the market on there. Why did we administer this survey? Because we wanted to find out about the market, about the software market. Obviously, since we build a product, we wanted to find out what different features were valued by people across the market. And why are we offering this today? Why are we presenting the results today? Because what we wanted to do as a part of submitting responses, we said that we would deliver the results of that survey. And what we also wanted to do was we also wanted to open it up to all of the different DRJ, the folks in the DRJ audience too, so you could also get the benefit of what was provided here. And I think you'll see some of the perceptions I know that I had, and I think some of the other folks who I've talked to have had. The market is a little bit different, I think, than the way that a lot of people perceive it, and I think you'll really see that today in a couple of, I think, in certain places. With functionality, and I think also with some structural stuff, and especially with ease of use. I think we found that particularly insightful. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is we're going to start off with features that we and functionality that we asked about. And this is important to remember. This is the rating scale on here. So we said for each of the following features, rate them in between 0, no value, and 3, essential. So that's the highest you could go. 4-point rating scale on there, 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's what we're going to present in, or I'm going to present in the next group of slides on here. Okay, so we're going to start with the structural features of business continuity software. So here's a summary of 6 different structural features that we asked about on here. You can see that we asked about an all-in-one solution, integration with your HR system, IT inventory, unlimited users, preloaded plan content, single organization support. So basically, how the product is offered and how the offering is structured on there. You can see on here that obviously you're not going to get 192 threes on there, but you can see that some scored very high, whereas some skewed a little bit lower. Nevertheless, still important though, and we're going to go over some of those in the next couple of slides in a little more detail. Okay, so the first one that we asked about was an all-in-one solution versus a solution broken up into modules. As you saw on the first slide, they got a 2.50 rating on there, so very, very high, the highest of all the structural components. And basically, what exactly does that mean? It means that all of the different software components, everything that we said in business continuity planning and management software, business impact analysis, the different planning parts, interactive incident management. Some people also include some sort of notification in there. They're provided in a fully integrated solution as opposed to being sold separately. The typical term that we use with that is modules. You'll see some of the quotes down here too, and what we did was these came out of, some people put them right within the survey at the end to say, hey, do you have any other comments about anything? But when we did our follow-up phone calls too, what we did was we also documented all of the feedback on that too. So you can see on here that obviously this is really highly valued of the all-in-one versus the module-based. You can see here this is what was said in some of the comments on here. So in the end, people wound up where they had to buy all the modules anyway. They wanted that complete package. And then obviously they also said, you can see here on here too, having a complete solution works better and delivers better value. So they wanted that all-in-one solution versus those modules. The next item, highest ranked item on there, was direct integration with their internal human resources system. So what that means is that the software is directly connecting up to that HR system of record, and what it's doing is it's making personnel updates. We define that as automatic on there when we were administering the survey. I think some of the people also thought too that included importing via spreadsheets too. Obviously an essential feature on here according to the folks on here. It's critical when you have thousands of users. If you had to, you can see here if we had to manually update them, obviously it would be a nightmare. And people do this also through an application program interface, also known as an API. So it's an automated interface that connects the HR system with the business continuity planning system on here. I would imagine that there's also quite a few people in the survey. We did not ask how many users they had within their software if they used it, but maybe with them they didn't need an automatic feed. It might have been easier to just manually put them in. Okay, the next feature that we looked at was direct integration with an IT inventory system. So what that is that typically called the CMDB, or Configuration Management Database System. What that does is that houses all of the different IT assets, such as servers, applications. A lot of those CMDBs also can house the relationships in between those different assets. So in other words, you would say you have a server that has these different applications or databases on it. So that's another, you can see, important thing that ranked highly on there. What you can see here, a couple of comments on that. This is a good one where they say, and this is predominant throughout the industry, at least from what we've seen. A lot of people are using their software as their IT inventory system. So in other words, I don't have a CMDB. I utilize my business continuity software as my system of record, as the voice of truth in what my IT inventory is for all my apps or servers or databases. It all depends. You can also see here too that some people are utilizing, or at least in this case, this one person was utilizing multiple systems of record and combining those together into their business continuity management system. So it was a consolidator and a synthesizer of data. So that's another important use too. And some good ideas too, you know, in actually using business continuity software beyond its initial intended use of planning. Okay, unlimited users. This one's pretty straightforward on here. You have, this was for unlimited named users. You can have as many of those folks, of your folks in the system as possible. People were pretty passionate about this. This was something that was mentioned a lot when we were talking, when we called up people on the phone. You can see on here, scalability was definitely important for this one person on here. Another person talked about users that are not only limited, but limited in what they can do. They said that they can only run, that only certain people can run their reporting in there, and they did not like that, as you can see. And then somebody else mentioned too, they had an online, interactive online incident management, and they said so when they had an emergency, they wanted people to be able to use the system, and what they did was they couldn't do that. They said we wanted everybody to have access to their plans online. I didn't have enough licenses, so I couldn't use my business continuity software for that. So obviously, lesson learned right there. Okay, preloaded plan content and templates included. So this is software that the items that you can include in there. There's a ton of different things that can be loaded into software. We mentioned, I mentioned some of these above here. Some other people also mentioned too. They said also risk registers was another one, or list of risks on there. Also too, some people also mentioned with plan frameworks, they mentioned specific standards that they also wanted in there too, where they could audit against. So that was some of the content, a little bit less of a value than some of the other things on there. You can see on here some of the comments on there. People, this was actually one of the new users, somebody that hadn't been in the industry that long. They said one of the best features was the library of the recovery procedures that came with it. And then we had some other people that actually said, I don't want anything in there. So you can see, not all, but many software methodologies, they don't like the frameworks. They want to do their own thing. I like a clean software package. I don't want templates in it. So really against actually having content in there. So looks like that was, obviously some personal preference on there, like all these are. Do you want to have that content, or you don't want to? Some of these folks, I think, thought that it would clog up the system where they couldn't do their own thing. Okay, and then another one on here was single organization support. The vendor provides tech support for all integrated products. Now, this was referring to mostly, predominantly a notification product that could be integrated in, but it also, some people also mentioned some of the IT stuff too in their comments. Predominantly notification, most of those people, and they said, you can see here, I don't think there's any surprise. Some vendors sell notification, but they've always found that the support from business continuity vendors is poor, and somebody made a more general comment, nobody knows the product better than the one that built it. So some comments on that, but you can see kind of low on here. I don't know if that's, you can see still in the twos, but a little bit lower than some of the other ones. So you can see maybe, more people could be amenable to multiple organizations supporting the different parts of the product. Okay, so that was the structural part of it, and now in BC software functionality, we'll show you what we asked in here in the summary chart. This one we asked a couple of more questions. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Across here, you can see we had some ones that really were quite high on here, and actually some ones that I was actually, and when I say some surprises on here, some of them that actually ranked fairly low on here with, especially with GRC capability, governance, risk, and compliance, and also multiple language capability. And we'll definitely talk a lot about these, and also too, obviously important is some of the different features on the front here too. So let's start with the plan exercise capability and tracking. So you can see this one ranked extremely high on here. So even more than planning or some of the documentation and everything like that, the ability to exercise within the software was a #1 feature in there. So you can see what that means is that you can interactively exercise your plans. It'll track what's going on during your exercises or tests, and then the different actions taken by recovery and response personnel in there. You can see out here, people got pretty excited on there. This is one of the quotes, when my software automates my exercises, I could never do this. Now I have a log of everything they're doing from all over the place. So people can go in, they track the software, and it tracks all the different actions of everybody as they're all logged in. A little comment on all-in-one. Make sure this is part of your all-in-one on here. And then obviously, people are utilizing exercises to track plan gaps. Users are putting in on-the-fly notes on there for correcting those things. So the software is tracking those. So some nice you can see some nice comments on that. Okay, the next one, which was also almost quite as high too, was for documenting a step-by-step operating procedures and mapping parallel recovery procedures. So what exactly does that mean? It means that they could map the normal operational process and then map the recovery process too right within their software. So one of the big things was as a differentiation on there that you could see was that people differentiated in between the step-by-step and an overall recovery strategy. So you can see on here that not everybody was ready for that. I originally had overall recovery strategies, but they evolved their program into adding more specific steps on there. So now maybe people weren't ready right away to do that, but it might be something that you might grow into as per this quote on here. Another thing on here, it's like, you can see why this person found it essential. If you don't know how to normally do things, how you're going to understand how you would operate during a disaster. And then a little bit of a side comment, ability to link interdependencies to business process steps. We asked for, what exactly do you mean by interdependencies? Those are the assets. So linking IT, linking people, linking vendors, linking those different assets to those business process steps. So not just being able to put in the steps, but also to link those two was the comment that they made. Okay, the next one is real-time tracking of recovery plan progress. So this goes hand in hand with the exercise capability. It's that tracking of what exactly is going on, except this isn't a test. This is real. So you can see here what's going on in the situation, and also too. What's the status of each of the different recovery plans. Likewise, very highly ranked on here. People commented and said, actually one person compared this to a binder on there. They said, this is the way to do it. The days of the paper planner are gone. I want data. I don't want a binder. I think we hear that quite a bit on there. This is where the rubber meets the road. Plans should be actionable and be able to be used electronically. And this was another side comment on here. I've seen a vendor that says they have interactive plans, but when all they did was pull up the PDF plan on the screen. So I guess they meant that obviously PDFs aren't interactive, so they wanted to see that. So you can see here real-time recovery tracking, not just the capability to go on in and to do the planning, but to actually utilize those plans right within the system. So another very important feature. So I think we were looking at, and let's just, let me see if I can actually go back here. So you can see 2.35, 2.33, 2.31. So 3 very important features on there. Okay, next, automatically calculate recovery time objectives. The software, what we asked on here was that is it a valuable feature on there where the RTOs could be automatically calculated based on your quantitative and qualitative criteria impacts and not a subjective opinion on here. So this was also very highly rated too. Software does do this. We have always calculated RTOs subjectively. Software that could automate it for us would be amazing, so obviously a valuable feature here. You can see here examiners, usually that's a financial services company on here. Quantitative, I guess, yeah, there we go, bank. A quantitative way to determine RTOs is essential for any bank. Some people don't like this. I like to ask my people their RTOs. I don't want an automatic calculation. So you can see, obviously, not everybody liked this on here, and we also, I think this was representative of some opinions on here too. And then to go with it, a companion feature is extensive customizable reporting. So when you're doing the calculations, show your work on here. So that was another one, another comment that that was also made too. Okay, we asked about aesthetically pleasing plan output. So we did want to ask about the binder, and we wanted to see, it is a part of what we do, and we wanted to see what emphasis people put on that. That one got a bit of a lower rating on there, and you can see on there that I don't think this was very surprising, at least not to us, was that they have to do this, but you can see if it was tops on my list, I don't need software. I actually said I'll just do it in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Other people, my plans need to look pristine. I don't have a choice in this. They need to look pristine for my customers. It was somebody who was a service organization, and they demand the plans in a specific way, and they need to look excellent for those people. And then other people were making, this was a fairly predominant, one of the comments on here, old school planning. There's so much more to business continuity than a nice looking document on here. Okay. You can see here we're definitely trending downwards towards the low 2s on here, so really less important to some people for some of these things. Interactive updating to fit a particular outage. So you have an impact of an outage and the plans are automatically updated. A couple people interpreted this and made comments and said our plans utilize an all hazard approach. So that's not important to us. So in other words, they're handling everything and they don't care about the specific outage. Whereas other people said, here's another comment on here, this would be a cool feature for software to have. So you can see a little bit less, but obviously on here, you could basically see two different schools of thought. Okay, automatic prioritization by processes supported. So automatic prioritization of what? Of all IT and personnel resources based upon the processes they support and the relative value to operations. We saw on here, you can see also a bit lower on here. We asked some people about this, and what they said was the people that were really IT focused really thought this was a great kind of thing. Other people, not so much. Fantastic feature of my current software, provides insight into the support components I need for recovery. #1 capability for my CTO. I wonder if what would happen if you change that to CFO. They might not care as much. But they're using it to make budgeting decisions, including how much I get for my DR program. So once again, not a typical feature of a business continuity software, but one that's nevertheless valuable and an offshoot of what they've done within their software package. Okay, so now we get into at least some of the bigger surprises for us on here, and this may be surprising, I think, to some other folks too. Governance, risk, and compliance capabilities. So there's obviously lots of, the trend, at least, according to a lot of folks, is that this is where business continuity is going and being put under that different area. I mean, we have definitely seen that on there. However, it got a really low rating, 1.56 on there. And here was some, I think, some very insightful quotes from some of the folks that took the survey. My organization isn't ready for this. The GRC tools are expensive, not good for BCM, more of an afterthought than a core offering right now. One person commented, I omitted the analyst organization, they rated GRC as very high, but they said they couldn't disagree more. Most of the industry isn't ready for GRC, and the GRC tools are in their infancy when it comes to BCM. Another person said it's great to be able to have that BCM in our GRC tool set. So everybody is working together. The coordination that it provides is fantastic. They also mentioned, too, it said, however, we were told we were going to use it. So they really didn't have a choice, but it sounds like it's working out well for them. So you can see on there, I mean, I don't think that there's any doubt that from the responses that the industry, the perception is there's definitely a move towards GRC, but maybe people aren't as ready as everybody thinks they are on there. So I think particularly insightful on here on what we found. Okay, and the lowest one, which I was also very surprised about too, considering, guys, remember, I think it was 68% of organizations said they were global on here. Multilingual, support multilingual staff and documentation. So the software being offered in multiple languages other than in addition to English on there. So I think a lot of people were saying on there, you can see we're an international company. We require that all of our plans are in English. So not a requirement on there. So for coordination, I think that was really important. And here was something else. I did not know this technically on here, but when you look at this, double byte characters were required for my software to be used in Japanese. So what that is that it takes up double the space in the database for specific languages, so things that aren't close to English, so things like Japanese, Chinese, Cyrillic for Russian. I believe Portuguese is also in there too. So he said, be prepared for very slow performance in any web-based tool, BC or otherwise. So they explained that a little bit, and they were saying that it takes double the amount of time, double the storage space. You got to have really good bandwidth to do that. And they were very passionate about that. They said it was just brutal when they were utilizing the foreign language characters in there. So interesting. Definitely a big challenge if that's something that's a requirement for you. So I thought that was real insightful too. Okay, so that was the overview of all of the different functionality and structural questions that we asked. We also asked some additional questions too. One of the additional questions that we asked on there was a hosting preference. So we wanted to see on there what people preferred, and we could see, and this is interesting, and I think the industry and a lot of other software is trending towards this, is a preference to SaaS. So you can see 68% of the people preferred SaaS. 20 wanted it in-house hosted, and 12 didn't provide an answer to this. And why do some people prefer SaaS? Some of the common answers that we've seen: less to manage and worry about in a disaster. So we don't have to worry about recovering our systems in order to view the plans. The ability to access plans from anywhere. And then people also said in here the cost of the hardware, the backups, the maintenance, the upgrade are directly billed to our department. These costs and hassle make SaaS more economical. So that was a nice thing on here too. And you can also see too, people wrote cost. So I like it because of the cost. You can see on here. And what was really interesting, if we go into the next slide on here, was that they say they prefer on-premise. And you'll notice on here, too, the cost is cheaper. So it's a perception kind of thing. Some people think that on-premise is cheaper. Some people think that SaaS is cheaper. So I guess it depends on what the ingredients are to cook both of those up. So I definitely wanted to point that out. People said that cost was important in the one, and then the cost was low in the one, and some other people said that cost was better on some of the other ones, on the other ones too. So you can also see too, why do they host the hosting preference on there to host it internally. On-premise, our data is critical. People want control of that. And this is really good. Somebody said 3 things: control, security, and privacy concerns. So those were some 3 really important items on there to have them in there. And other people said, hey, I don't have a choice. So that was one of the other things. Okay. Another thing that we also asked on here, too, was customer service. For the customer service on here, it was being asked, do you prefer a software vendor that has a lot of large clients, which means they're a great fit for the organization, or the BC software has too many or has many large clients, which means I'll probably take a back seat when it comes to customer service. This is almost even on here. So I guess, once again, this really depends on what's most important to you. And you can see it was pretty much almost split down the middle on here. A little bit of an advantage for preferring large clients. I believe it was 56 to 44. Okay, customer service. So a couple of things for the customer service on here. Do you prefer 24/7, 365 support, or would you be willing to be limited in the amount of questions that you could submit to 5 a year, and then have a 15% discount on the software, and then pay a la carte for additional questions? So predominantly, you can see on here, quite a few, predominantly, they like that 24/7 tech support. A little bit fee for service, and then a couple of people said, I don't care either way. Okay, so now what we did was we also, the next part of the survey was we gathered things that people really liked about their software. So out of those users, I believe it was the 84 users, what do those 84 people really like about their software? And then you'll see in the other group of slides, what do people dislike about the current software market out there? So let's go over what some of these were. So these are quotes on here. You can see on there, what do we like about our software? Strong, flexible methodology, bridges the linkage in between business and IT. It gives us insight into interdependencies that we didn't have before. Straightforward custom reporting on there. So you can see a lot of these interdependency kind of things. That was some of these quotes on here. Better insight into what they were doing before. You can see also, too, with the reporting. I think all these things kind of go together on there. All-in-one solution with unlimited users. So here's scalability, the functionality and growing use in my company. That was also off of, you can see that was pretty much in line with one of the other quotes that was given earlier on that all-in-one solution. A couple of other things on here. It doesn't require lots of customization and cost by vendors. So they wanted to be able to easily make changes on here. Centralized control. This is a big one, obviously, where they could go on in and control a large user base. The geographically dispersed one can assign and track tasks to completion, easy to use and generate plans. So comments about customer support, API, and the business-based methodology encourages use. So focusing on that was important too. So I'll leave this up for a second on here so everybody can, I know I went through those a little bit quickly. Everybody can take a look at those. Okay. All right, so now what were some of the bad things that people saw on there? Frustration is. Okay. The binder mentality, producing the binder on there that's not interactive. Software that wasn't ready for prime time. Just holds documents. There's no analysis in there. They made further comments on the platform on there. No ability to generate custom reports. Administration, time-consuming, hidden costs, some of those things. So I'll leave that up there for a little bit. Okay, and some other points of frustration on there. Lots of programming, so have to, it makes the users relatively dependent on the vendor, so they have to come on in and do a lot of outside programming. Complain about user friendliness. We'll talk about this in a second, what exactly that means. Modules. This was interesting where they made a comment. It wasn't just the sales practice of that. It said that the module didn't update the plan, so the BIA didn't update the plans. They were separate. Bad customer support, large upgrade costs, and then once again you can see on the GRC, but lousy on BCM. So I'll leave that up for a little bit of time too. Okay. Okay. The next thing that we asked was, out of everything, out of every possible feature that you could want, what are the top three? So what we did was we went on in, and I'm going to put up this slide right now. I'll explain to you how this was calculated. We took most preferred features on there, and we said, what's your first, second, and third place? First place got 3 points, second place got 2 points, and third place got 1 point. We calculated, we added these all up, and we said, here's the total number of votes, and then we did that weighted points, where we added the 3s and the 2s and the 1s for each of these. So we multiplied 3 times 43, 2 times 26, 1 times 22, and then we added those all together to do 203. So you can see on here, there's quite a few. I'm going to show you. This is actually broken down into 2 slides, and we'll go over a couple of these on here. I think it's insightful to look at some of the distribution among here. I don't think there's any real insight into easy-to-use software. Obviously, ease of use is king on here. You have 203 points, more than double the second one on here. Very, very, very important on here. Adaptability and flexibility for plans by department need on here, so the ability to really fulfill the different organizational needs on here. Data sharing, so that was mentioned in that other slide on there, is the integration of the different parts of the software in a common database where it's linking it up. Comprehensive functionality, so the software includes everything that they need to plan. another real high one on here. Support and training, understandable to non-tech user, good help screens. This could almost actually be merged into this ease of use and administration. And then you can see some other ones on here, good use, good reporting, custom reporting, automatic update, notification of emergencies, change situations, link all areas, pre-loadable templates. So we get a little bit less on here. So we're getting down from the 40s, and then you can see here some commonality among a couple of the users. And then as we get into some of the other ones, matrix tracking, cost savings value, real-time metrics, prioritizations, risk assessment, security, audit testing, scalable, track progress, multi-language, unlimited users, speed. So you can see some of the ones that ranked high on some of the other ones wasn't a top one, but they said it was important. So this gives additional insight into some of the other answers on there. So we actually mentioned WAN use, so you can see some of the other ones. And one of the ones that shocked me on here was that smartphone access. With so many things going mobile today, it was third place of 1 out of 192. So I was kind of shocked on that wasn't making a top 3 kind of thing on here. So once again, not there's definitely a lot of talk about it, but in at least according to our respondents, not a top 3. So I'll leave this up for a little bit so everybody can see this and take this in. Okay. So now, as promised, the ease of use. What exactly does that mean? We get asked all the time. They say, is your software easy to use? And of course you say, yeah, my software is easy. It's a very common thing. You like to think your software is. I like to think all the other vendors do too. But what exactly does that mean to people? What are they looking for? What are your peers looking for when they're looking for easy to use software? So what we did was, we wanted to write down, all the different responses, and we actually put down quite a few quotes on the next slide. We asked this open-ended to people, and you can definitely see some of the consistencies on there too. So let's go on into the next slide on here, and I'm going to go through some of these things. This is a big one. Minimal training, and I thought this was a really good summary. Minimal training for non-business continuity, infrequent users to get their tasks done. So when we're looking at this, easy for my end users, minimal training. It doesn't take a lot of time. So you can see on here, client customizable at no cost. I put in instructions for my users, drag and drop capability, so ease of the navigation and dragging things on the screen. So basically ease of controls in doing things. Where it automates some other things on here. Completing one task populates information in another area. Looks good, visually appealing. Setting up and maintaining the tool doesn't require an IT skill set such as crystal reporting, programming, etc. So once again, the client, you as a user administrator can go in and do the customization yourself easily without any help from the vendor on there. Customizable reporting, track, update, trend, and glean important information on demand. Intuitive, once again, intuitive during disaster. So not just for planning, but obviously during disaster. One part builds on the next. Completing one task populates the area. So you can see some of the commonalities on there. I'll leave this up here so you can take a look at all of these. Okay, and the second part, more quotes. I think this should be once, apologize. Once the users understand, it's easier for them to develop the plan and buy into it. Use immediately without a link to user guide. Icon-based, does not look machine language-based. Light administratively, set up configuration, maintenance tasks. Ability to get required data easily, not in full plans, so don't have to go into a plan easily, just get the data you need. Easily generate plans. converts non-continuity data into usable BCM data, user interface that is similar to intuitive picture-based websites and applications like TurboTax, no convoluted tree structure to find data, ability to manipulate common data elements easily. So a lot of automation of what we're doing. No surprise there. We wanted to automate what we're doing. We want it to be intuitive. People need to know what they're doing, where to go, without a lot of training. So you can see a lot of different quotes on there about all of those different items. So I'll leave that up for a little bit. Okay. And now what I'll try to do, I'm going to open up my my pane here so I have been looking at the questions pane, so I'm going to take a look at those now. Keep in mind that a lot of the answers that were provided were basically just provided. We just took the text out and synthesized all of the different answers on there. So I'm not sure how much insight I can provide into the actual responses on there, but I would be happy to look at the questions and see what I can answer.
And I did, again, a quick reminder, if you do have any questions for Frank, you can utilize and find that question panel on the right-hand side of your screen.
Okay. All right. This is a good one. This is excellent. So one of the first questions are: the speaker refers to old school planning. Please give 2 to 3 examples of old school versus something new in BC planning. Us gray hairs are open to new things. That's great. It's interesting. And this is my opinion on here. Some of the things, I think some of the old school when we're talking about is really that focus on, and we hear this a lot, is the focus on the plan binders. Just continual focus on just generating that pretty document. And really without much attention to that particular analysis. I think that's, when people talk about the old school planning, things have gone past that plan binder on there, and a lot of the different process, I think that also goes around that too. I think that when we're looking at some of the things such as compliance and being compliant and being resilient, being compliant, there's a lot of process around that, a lot of busy work. I have to track every version of my document, and I got to put dates on it, and I have a lot of the other elements on that. And yes, absolutely required for a lot of our compliance kind of things. And I think one of the interesting things is that we've seen is that people sometimes keep 2 different versions of their plan. One to meet the compliance and the auditors that are coming in, and another one that they use that's very light, that they can go out and they can actually utilize out in the field, that doesn't have, I don't want to have to look through multiple versions of a document. I just want what I need when I need it. So you can see like the focus on exercise capability and the focus on real-time kinds of things as opposed to the focus on the document, I think is really important. And that's just my opinion. I mean, when we look at those kind of things, I think, when we go to shows like, the DRJ conferences, or we talk to people, those are the things that they bring up a lot. And I think having that kind of view as to this real-time planning, I think is really new. I guess you could sort of say, I don't know how new school it is, but it's definitely a lot different from, I think, some of the binder-based or old, some people would call it, the old school mentality. Let's see. I don't see any or only a few comments regarding document control requirements. Do you see this as a key feature? Yeah, in the survey we didn't ask really anything about document control requirements. Do we see this as a key feature? I think it is. I think, I mean, definitely for compliance. It's like we said before, document control version control is. It's required. There's really in some regulated industries, you really don't have a choice on there. You want to make sure that you have all the sign-offs on there. And I think the other thing is, too, you want to make sure that you're using the most recent copy of your plan. You don't want to be using something that's out, that's old, and then wind up recovering the wrong kind of things or utilizing those outdated plans. So I think that is important. I think, and this is in my opinion, I think that as far as one of the other things that we've seen, though, on the other side of this thing is that document control can get a little bit out of hand, where you're tracking. It's like I need to track when somebody changes, maybe a slight procedure in their different business unit. Do you really need to have that go through your entire approval process, where it goes up to a manager and a manager's manager, and it has sign-offs and signatures and all those things? I mean, you wind up where you're creating a lot of process in something that's supposed to be very streamlined and and usable. So once again, a little bit of the of some of the compliance kind of things, maybe sometimes getting in the way of some of the resilience things on there. So kind of two different schools of thought on there. Let's see, what else do we have on here? Without naming names, is it reasonable to find a BC package that can deliver on most of these desired features? I think so. I think that there's definitely multiple packages that are going to do a good job at meeting a lot of the different desired features out there. And I think as with any industry, there are definitely some that do better in certain areas than others on there. I think the important thing to get out of this is to really look at some of these different features on here, plus any ones that you think are important, and really see how those organizations match up against those kind of things. So when you're buying a software package, write down what those different things are and see how they match up. As just a bit of advice, I think what a lot of people do sometimes, we see a lot of RFPs and requests come in, is that people will ask 200 or 300 or 400 questions. I think that's way too many. I think it winds up where that can definitely be confusing in what to choose, and you may wind up I always kind of say it's like buying a car. When you go out to buy a car, you want to make sure that you have a good engine, it accelerates well, car looks good, those different kind of things. Maybe you have some of the smaller features, but I think sometimes we see when people get too much into the weeds, it's like buying a car because it has a pretty ashtray. And most people don't smoke. So anyway, I think that's just one of the caveats that I'll give you in looking at, if you're aligning up some of the features like you see today and you're looking for a software package and to buy that. Let's see. Why do you think unlimited users ranked high in the good category but only got a 6 in the top 3? You know what? I'm not sure why that is, but it was definitely, that's definitely a good finding on there. Yeah, it didn't, and let's, you know what, hold on, let's go back, let me see if I can go back to that slide on here, and we can see on here, yeah, here's unlimited users, so only 3 people total said that was important. It got 3 plus 2 plus 1, the 6 points on there. Yeah, I'm really not that sure, I'm not that sure why that did that. I guess overall that was important, but when you asked for your top 3, it really didn't hit on there. That would be a good. Maybe we can follow up with some of the folks and ask them why that wasn't higher on there. So maybe it's important, but it didn't rank. These were more important. Ease of use, adaptability, data sharing. So. Okay, let's see what, take another question on here. What does interface to the IT side really mean? Okay, interface to the IT side. For the person that asked that question, can you tell me we'll give him a couple of seconds here. Can you tell me which slide you were referring to? I know that's mentioned throughout the presentation, and I'll see if I can give you a little more insight into that.
All right, and that was our final question. We'll give John a few seconds here if he wants to follow up on that question.
Okay.
We can do any parting words here. Actually, he just responded. Does this mean the package helps IT develop their plans?
Does this mean it helps IT develop their plans? I think that, I mean, that's definitely a component of what was asked on there. You know, when we go on in, hold on, let me go back on in here. This might take a second just to, let's see. Okay, bridges linkage between business and IT. Not a lot of insight, obviously, with that user quote. But let's go up. Hold on. Let me just exit out of presentation mode here for a second. Let me just go up to another place in here. Okay, here was one mention on here. The software prioritizes all IT and personnel resources based on the process. What this was asked for was that when the software is doing a calculation of an RTO or relative importance of an IT asset, it calculates it using it by how it supports the business. So in this case, it's doing the prioritization. And there was another mention. I don't remember where it is on here, but there's another mention of that the BIA feeds the other parts of the system. So yes, that's exactly what it would be. So what would happen is the BIA would feed the prioritization of the assets and the IT components to that are prioritized to build plans for, and those would be, obviously, those would be the ones that you would build plans. You can't build them for everything. You would build it for, say, like, I don't know, like your Tier 1 applications, your top 10, whatever it may be.
All right. Well, that's our final question here today. Any parting words here today, Frank?
No, I just want to thank everybody for attending the webinar. If you have any, I know there's definitely a lot of data here. We tried to present it in the best way possible to synthesize that. But if you have any specific questions, I know Bob, you're going to post this up on the DRJ website, and if you want to ask anything specifically, we can definitely follow up on that with the person that made the comment and see if we can get you a little more information on that. We're more than happy to do that.
All right, well, perfect. Thanks again, everyone, for your attendance here today. We again hope you gather some great information from today's webinar. We did record this webinar. The link will be shared with you in an email sent out tomorrow, and you may view that webinar as frequently as you wish or share it with your peers. DRJ would also like to thank Frank for his time here today, as well as Strategic BCP for sponsoring today's webinar. If you do have any additional questions, please contact Disaster Recovery Journal. Thank you again, and this now ends today's webinar.